Hey, it's Mr. G, and we are back. We finally got our first request, and IV asked how to read integers from a text file and break them up line by line into an int array in C. So C is a language that I haven't used in quite a while, and I wasn't even very good at it. But it's a lower level language, it's an old language from like the 70s, I think. So we are going to try to do this. This is my first time trying this. So it could take me 4 minutes or half an hour or maybe longer, but we're going to try our best to get this done. And I also have ChatGPT on the side over here. I probably could ask ChatGPT to write me the code in one shot, but I want you to see like my process for figuring this out and breaking down this problem into smaller chunks and trying to get each part to work. So let's get started. In Replit, I'm going to use Replit because I don't really want to set up. I mean, I think my computer is already set up to code in C and to compile C, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just going to use Replit because that's probably going to be the easiest way for most people to try the same thing. So I'm going to create a REPL and I'm going to search for the C language. And we have two versions, C or the C CMake project. I think I'm going to try the C CMake project. I think CMake is the thing that turns our code into something that can be run by the computer. Whereas I'm not 100% sure if we use C, if that's gonna work. Let me click on C CMake project, and actually let me ask ChatGPT, what does CMake do? Okay, I have to click the send button. It's an open source cross-platform build system. It helps in managing the build process. Okay. File system. Yeah, I think this is what's going to allow us to compile. And when I say compile, I mean taking our code and changing it, turning it into something that the computer can actually understand, because computers really can't understand English, at least not in the way that you might think. So we are going to just create the REPL and try it. Okay, so it's getting ready, and we have our first C project here. I think if we run this, it'll compile it, and we'll be able to see the effect of running printf hello world. And okay, there we go. So just clicking run compiles it and does all that work, and we can see the result is right here. This is the result of my code, my C code. Okay, so if I want to read integers from a text file, I'm going to create a text file first. So I'm going to click over here, add file. We'll call it nums.txt. And inside of this file, I'm just going to type in some random integers. So an integer is basically a whole number, a number without any decimal point and, more fractional values. An integer could be negative though, so I'm going to make sure to add some negative numbers in there, and I think that should be enough. So in my text file, I have 8 integers. We'll add a 0, we'll add a 1. I think that should be good enough. We have 10 integers. And if you didn't know what an integer was, you could always go to ChatGPT, which is what I recommend, and ask, what is an integer? And you could ask, and it doesn't matter how silly your question might seem to you, ChatGPT doesn't care, it's going to answer you. And you could read this, and if it's a little bit too complicated, you could say, explain it to me in a simpler manner or something. Okay, so we have our text file, and we have our C file, our C code here, but I need to figure out how to read values from a text file in C. And that is something I definitely do not know how to do. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT, how do I read data from a text file using the C programming language? And I'm being a little bit more verbose here. I'm using more words than I probably need to, just to make it clear, just to make my question as clear as possible for ChatGPT here. Okay, so we have the necessary header file. So that's already here. Declare variables to store the file pointer and data. Okay, so this is stuff that I'm not 100% sure about, but we are going to try to copy this and see if it works. Card data 100, assuming a maximum value of 100 characters per line. Okay, so that is fine. We're gonna go with that. I mean, that would be a huge integer, but that's okay. And actually, the thing about C is that it's a low-level language, meaning that when we say that we need a variable, we need to actually tell it how much space we're gonna need to store that variable. So I'm thinking if we're gonna create an array of integers in the future, in a few minutes, we're gonna need to know how many numbers we have to store, because we have to tell in C, we have to make sure that we create enough space to be able to store that data. And that's something you don't have to do in Python or JavaScript. It'll do it automatically. But in a low-level language, you do need to do stuff like that. So next, we want to open the file using fopen, the fopen function. So I'm going to just copy-paste that here. I'm thinking that this might not be where I want to... This might not be where it should be. All this might have to be, or maybe should be included inside of the main function over here. Okay, so let me think about this for a second. What's the error I'm getting? Specifier missing defaults to int. Redefinition of file pointer with a different type. Struct IO file. Okay, not 100% sure, but let me change the file name to nums.txt. What does R do? What's the second argument do? Oh, maybe I could, maybe it'll say, okay, I'm so silly. It says it right there. R indicates that the file is being opened for reading, okay? Then we could check to see if the file was opened successfully using this if check. Okay, so let's copy that, put that underneath. Okay, and yeah, I'm thinking that this is all stuff that we want to have inside of our main function. So I believe when you run a C program, it's going to look for main and run what's inside main. So right now, all it's going to do is print hello world, because all of this code is kind of being ignored. So let me try to bring all of this in to my main function there. And it's not there. It looks okay. I'm going to remove the comments just because I'm trying to make this a little bit more readable. There we go. And okay, so I don't see any errors, but what we'll see is if it's not able to open this file, we're going to get this error, failed to open the file. So if file pointer is null, so that means if it can't find this nums.txt, it's going to say failed to open the file. And what we could do just to test to see if it can open the file at all, I can turn this into an if else and just bring my hello world inside here and just change it to I opened the file. Okay, so let me hit run and see if it even is able to access the nums.txt file. Okay, so we got a fail to open the file. So we have a problem here. So it's good that I guess I tested it, because I was hoping it would be able to open it, but why isn't it able to open the file? That's going to be the question. Nums.txt. Maybe it's because it doesn't know where to look. So maybe I'll try something like dot / nums.txt to tell it to look in this specific directory. Let's try that. And we are still not able to open the file. So I really don't want to move forward from here unless this works. Okay, so we have to figure out exactly why this is not working. And to do that, actually maybe what we can do is display. I want to see what it's storing in the file pointer. And that might be like some sort of number or weird hexadecimal thing. Let me see if I can print f the file pointer. And this is going to be a little bit tricky because I actually don't remember how to print a string, or how to turn this into a string that I could actually read. I think it might be something like passing a second argument. Actually, why don't we just say ChatGPT? What are we doing over here? Okay. So ChatGPT gave me some more stuff and that I should try but because I'm not going to do that. Oh, actually, I'm looking here at the code and it looks very similar to what we have here. But I am not going to do this. Wait, I have to make sure that they have if else's in C, because maybe this isn't the right way to write this. Do if else conditional statements exist in C? Okay, yeah, good. Otherwise, I was going to go crazy. So that's not the issue. The issue isn't that we have an else clause here. Let me see if I can print what file pointer is actually storing. How can I print what file pointer, not poker, but file pointer is storing? Okay, you can use the %p specifier in printf. Okay, so that is definitely what I want to see. Oh, wait, no. ChatGPT is not understanding what I'm trying to do here exactly. I don't think. So maybe what I think what it's doing is it's just going to print out the numbers from the text file onto the screen, but that's not what I want to do. I want to store them in an array. So let me tell it that we see an error. My project is failing to open the text file. How can I test it to make sure that it works? I don't think it's the best question I could have asked, but let's see if it says anything that might be helpful. Verify the file path. Double check that the file path you provided is correct. Okay, so that is, you know what, let's try this code. So over here, it's giving me a new code that I can try. So I'm going to comment that out, and I'm going to try to see if we can access it at all. We're going to use this if-else conditional here. So let's move that. It doesn't know what access is. Implicit declaration of function access is invalid in C99. Okay, so let me copy paste that error into ChatGPT, because it doesn't have an access function. So you're gonna have to do this another way. Apologize for the confusion. Access function is part of the, okay, POSIX standard, but is not a standard C library function. So C doesn't know what access is, but that's okay. So we can use the fopen function instead, which is what I think I have here, fopen. Let me try using the code the way they have it here. So what they did is they declared a constant char file name. I'm going to change this to nums, and then the fopen is going to open the file name. Okay. And I mean, I think we have the same issue here, but let's try it. So let's save that and let's run it. Let's see if it's able to find. Yeah, we still have the same issue. All right, so that's not good. I wonder if it's because C is, or maybe Replit won't allow it to access a text file in the source folder. Let's tell ChatGPT, I'm using Replit. Could that be the source of the issue? It is not recognizing the text file. Yeah, I have to figure out how Replit handles paths or file access. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I tried both ways. I tried the relative path Let me try the absolute path. So I could right click and select copy path. Let me try pasting it here. Oh man, if that works. Okay, so let me try my old if else statement because that should work. Let me try running it. Okay, I opened the file. So we were able to open the file. Great. All right, so that is, we're getting there. Let me just scroll up because now that I know that the file is open, I want to take in the data. So read the contents of the file line by line using the fgets function. Okay. So I think I have to tell ChatGPT more details because otherwise I'm just going to be printing every line. Although maybe I could do that for now. You know what? Let's do that for now. So while there's still stuff in here. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this else because we don't need to just like stop right here or just do that. We just want to have that as like almost like a check to make sure that the file exists. And if it does exist, we can continue on. And if it doesn't exist, it's going to return 1 and it's going to break. It's not going to continue on in this code. Okay, so while fgets data is, wait a second. What is it doing exactly here? Size of data. fgets reads the one line of text from the file, stores it in the data variable. Okay, so it's taking each integer and storing it in data temporarily. And the size of parameter ensures that the function reads up to the maximum number of characters. Okay. And then we close the file. Okay, so we'll close it at the end of that. I'm guessing because we're opening it, we have to actually close it. Otherwise, we might have like some memory leak or some problem in the future. Like I said, C is a low-level language, so the computer is going to do pretty much exactly what you tell it to do, nothing more, nothing less. It's not going to make any assumptions. All right, let's try this and see if it prints out all of the integers, which I think it should. And actually it does. So that's great. So we're almost there. But instead of just printing out the integers, what maybe we want to do is, I'm trying to think of the best way because I don't know, I won't know how many integers there are. So the issue might be something like, okay, let me create some space over here. Oh, I guess that doesn't exist. So let's say we read it line by line. So the first integer might be 0, the second one might be 1, the third one might be 2. So if I just say, hey, I need an integer with, four spaces or like 4 bytes of memory, let's say, and it stores these 4, then when it gets to the next number, it's like not going to work. It's going to break, or it might overwrite 0 or something like that. But since I don't know how many lines there are initially, I don't know how much memory I need or how I should allocate and reserve that much memory. So let me ask ChatGPT if it has suggestions. Okay, I want to store each integer in an array of integers. How can I reserve the space or the memory I need if I don't know exactly how many integers exist in the text file? Okay, so I want to store each integer in an array of integers. How can I reserve the memory I need if I don't know exactly how many integers exist? Let's see what ChatGPT says. Okay, let it go for a second. If you don't know the exact number of integers in the text file beforehand, you can dynamically allocate memory for the integer array using the the malloc function from the C standard library. Okay, so that's actually, I think that's what JavaScript does under the hood. You don't have to actually tell it to do this. but it does something similar to this. Okay, so here's an example of how you can do this. Okay, so it's telling me, or it's showing me that I want to store my integer array, integer array, so I can declare that at the top. So let me put that underneath file. This we can leave because it actually does work. Right now yeah, we are using data, so that doesn't even matter. Int capacity. So initial capacity for the array. So we have to tell the array how much space to start off with. And I guess maybe later on, if we need more space, then what it'll do is it'll copy everything that's already in that space and copy it to a new area in memory or something like that. Okay, so let's just say int capacity 10. Well, we're just gonna copy that into here, but I want to make sure I understand what's going on here. Int size 0, number of integers read from the file. That's actually another thing I could do. I could probably do a loop that goes through the file and sees how many integers, how many lines there are, and then requests the space. But you know, that might take a long time if there's a lot of integers. So this might be the best way to do it. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll try it. Okay, so the number of integers, so they're probably going to keep count of this somehow. So int size is 0. So I'm going to change capacity to initial capacity, and size is the num of ints. I'm just going to rename them because I don't like capacity and size as variable names. Int value, I'm not sure what they're using value here for, so let's well, we'll bring it in and then we'll figure it out. Okay, so we have all of our variables declared there at the top. So we open the file. If there's no file, we're gonna just break out of here. We're gonna return 1 and say failed to open the file, and nothing else will happen. Okay, here we go. Here's where the magic's happening. So here, we're allocating memory for the initial capacity. So this is the syntax for creating the initial amount of space that we need for our integers. Okay, so let me do that. Let me create the space. And why is that not working? Implicitly declaring library function malloc with type void. Okay, sure. That hopefully shouldn't be. Oh wait, we don't have capacity anymore. We have initial capacity. Initial capacity. Okay, and multiply that by the size of the integer. Okay. If an integer array is null, fail to allocate memory. And then we close the file. Okay, so we'll bring that in. I don't think this is going to break the project or cause it to fail. I'm not sure why it's saying that. Integer array. Is integer array, did we declare it? Yeah, we declared it up here. Integer array. Why would it? Let me bring this this error. It's not an error, it's actually a warning, but let me just bring it over and I'm just going to paste it and see if it's able to figure out what is going on there. Okay, so I'm missing the standard library header, which contains the function declaration for malloc. Okay, so I got to bring this in. So I need to include that actually up here. So it's a good thing that I asked because, oops, sorry, the standard library I need to bring in. Not standard IO, that's already in there. Okay, so I brought in the standard library and the warning goes away and now malloc should work. Let me scroll back up. Let's see, read integers from file, store them in the array. Okay, so this is going to be, this while loop is going to store, it's going to add those integers into my array. So I'm going to bring that underneath this if. Okay, and now we're getting a little bit crazier because we sorry, we renamed the variables initial capacity, and I didn't name it size, I named it num of ints, and then size plus plus should be num of ints plus plus. Integer array num of ints, number of integers. Okay, I think that should be everything. So let's read through this and make sure we understand what's going on here. So I'm going to expand this a little bit. So what's happening is it looks like it's scanning through the file, because file pointer is pointing to where the text file is, and it's going through if the array is full. So if we have the same number of integers as we have space, meaning that we are at capacity, there's no more space, what we need to do is say, hey, give me more space. So what we do is we double the initial capacity, and then we just use a realloc, it looks like. So what it does is it's saying, hey, I need more space, and give me, so if I ask for, let's say, 4 units of space, give me 8. If we fill up 8, maybe it doubles it to 16. Give me 16 units of space. Okay, if integer array is null, so if it doesn't exist or whatever, if it doesn't give us the space, if the space doesn't exist, then we fail to reallocate memory. And then we close the file and return 1 and end this while loop. Okay, but while this is true, while it's able to go through and find a value, let me actually figure out what what fscanf does, because I think that is actually what's going through line by line. That's the code. But let me just ask ChatGPT, what does fscanf do? To read formatted data from a file similar to scanf. It reads data from a specified file stream. Okay. All right, as long as it works, we're happy. Okay, so if we reach capacity, we request double the capacity or double the space. I'm just gonna delete these comments because I don't really need them. And that's fine. So if we don't need that, then we continue on. And what we do is that's where value comes in. So what it's doing is it's taking the value or the number, the integer, and storing it in its specific position, in its specific memory slot that it's created. So it's putting the value inside of the integer array at a specific place. And then what it does is it increases the number of integers that we've seen. So that's what num of ints plus plus does. Okay, so let me actually delete everything that comes after that. And let's see if there was anything else in the code that we need to take a look at. So we can close the file. Okay, once we've done all of this, we should, at this point, we should have an integer array. And what we can do is print the integers stored in the array. So I like that ChatGPT took a guess and basically wants to do this. Again, we have to change size. So it's not going to be size, it's going to be num of ints. And this is just a normal for loop. If you've used JavaScript, it looks pretty much the same, except instead of int, in JavaScript, it would be var, let, or const. But this is fine. This is what I want. Integer array. Okay. And then once we're done with that, see, this is why it gets a little crazy when you're using a low-level language, because once we're done with that, we have to then free up the memory. We have to say, okay, let go of this memory so another program can use it. And at the end of all of this, we're going to return 0 because the project is done. And that's it. That should be all of the code we need to be able to accomplish this task. I'm just going to make sure, I'm going to run it now because I haven't run it in a while. And I haven't tested it. I didn't test every single part because it was a little difficult to do that. But I did try to explain what is happening in the code as I'm copy pasting it over, because I don't just want to copy paste it and like, hope that it works. I really do want to understand what the functions are doing and how C works, and also getting used to the syntax, because some parts of it are pretty different from what I'm used to. But this is a normal for loop that you might have seen. It looks very similar to the one in JavaScript. And then at the end, we free up the memory. So after you've used up memory, you then have to let it go so that other projects or other programs can use it. And that's what free integer array does. Okay, so I'm going to run it. And we should see the same result, actually, but it shouldn't be coming from the text file. It should be coming from the integer array that we created in memory. So I'm going to hit run, and it's going through, and we see the numbers. And I'm pretty sure that it is working, and the numbers are coming from they're coming from memory. They're not coming from the text file directly. They're first being stored in memory in an integer array, and then we're just printing out everything from the integer array. Because as you can see here, line 45, it's only printing the numbers that are stored inside of the integer array. So this is how I know for sure that it's not coming from the text file directly, that it's not just copy pasting from the text file. Okay, so I think that should answer your question. And I know this was kind of like a long video, but it hopefully was informative on how you can use ChatGPT and how you can read the code and try to figure out what's going on, or at least how I do it. And then maybe you could learn something from that. All right, thank you for the question. And if you have any other questions or requests on something to do, just post them in the comments, and I'll try to get to them.